So as we know, we have our Fabric environment over here. First thing is I'll create a new workspace. So I'll click on new and I'll give the name of the workspace as architecture and I'll click on apply. So this is our workspace. Now, first thing is I have to create a storage that is lakehouse. So I'll click on this new item, search for a lakehouse, and I'll give the name of this lakehouse as sales. I'll be sharing you a link for today's data set. Did you guys receive the link? On the chat, I've just sent a link. Basically, this contains a zip file. Once you click the link, GitHub opens where you will be able to see a zip file called orders.zip. Click on the view raw. It'll automatically download the order.zip file. Are you guys able to do this?
Please come again.
Okay.
Nanda?
So I have sent you a link, right? That
Yes, yes.
contains a zip file. It redirects to a GitHub repo where it
GitHub.
contains a zip file.
Mm-hmm.
So now once you click on that link, you can see my screen, right?
Orders.zip. Okay.
Okay, just click on the orders.zip and click on this view raw.
Yeah.
So it'll automatically download the zip file.
Yes.
Okay.
So only three files are there, right?
Yes, yes,
2019, 2021.
19,
Okay.
20, and 21.
Yes,
So
Nanda.
you would have received the data set of the sales data set of the 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Coming back here, now created the lake house. So my next step will be creating a subfolder under this files. So I'll just create a subfolder, and this is the bronze layer where we'll store our raw data. So I'll give the name of the subfolder as bronze. So as you
Okay.
can see, architecture is our workspace and sales is our lakehouse. And inside that we have files. Under that files, I have created a subfolder that is bronze. So this is our bronze layer basically where we store our raw data. It is called as a bronze layer. So we are creating a bronze layer now. So in today's class, no, we will be seeing how to create and upload the data into the bronze layer. Then slowly we'll see how to transform the data and load it to the silver delta table. And from there, we'll explore the data in the silver layer using the SQL endpoints. And then we'll transform the data into gold layer. So this is the whole agenda of this hands-on. So we'll see step by step. So the first step, what we are doing now is we are uploading the data to the bronze layer. So in order to upload the data to the bronze layer, you need to set up the folders for the bronze. So what I have done is I've just created a subfolder under the files as bronze, upload the data, raw data. Now I'll just get the data from my system. So I'll get all the three files at once by clicking shift enter, and I'll click on upload. So now the files are uploaded. As you can see, it is all the three files 2019, 20, and 21 has been uploaded. So this is our raw layer where bronze layer where we have uploaded the raw files. So is there any doubts in this layer, like the bronze layer?
Nanda, usually
Hmm.
this raw data, we need to extract it, or our client or customer, they will put all these files in this folder. Yeah.
Similarly, they will have their own servers, right? Like AWS or
Okay, they
cloud
will
storage.
tell
They'll be
you the
having,
location, right?
yes, yes, they'll have their
From
in their own
that, we need
servers.
to build an architecture, right? Bronze layer and
From there, I guess you guys remember how to fetch the data from an
okay, okay.
external source. So
Yeah,
you will
okay.
use that method, get the data to your bronze layer over here.
Okay. So is it compulsory that we need to strictly follow on medallion architecture for
Any data engineering or architecture, whatever you follow, any project, it follows an architecture. So
okay.
here in data engineering projects, 90% of the projects follow this medallion architecture where it involves all these three layers and sometimes even before the bronze layer, there will be something called as a raw layer where they'll first extract all the raw files. Then they'll select only the files which they want to work on into the bronze layer. Then they'll move on to the silver layer. After the silver layer, they'll push it to the gold layer. Even the data is at the gold layer, sometimes it is necessary that depending on the situations, they'll also create something called as a platinum layer, which will have a better refined data than the gold layer.
Okay.
So the more layers you create, the more the data is refined. So
Okay.
the whole role of a data engineer is to like maintain a data in a refined form. So this is the architect which has been followed.
Okay. Thank you.
Welcome. Okay. Any more questions, guys, here?
No.
Now we have created the bronze layer. That is, we have uploaded our raw files by extracting it from GitHub and loading it to a bronze layer. So from here, we need to transform this data and load it to the silver layer, where we can create one delta table and load this data. In order to transform the data, right? So I will need a notebook. I'll just click on this open notebook and I'll select a new notebook. So now we have our notebook open. So it is in the PySpark environment and it has a default workspace and it is in the PySpark. And now let try to rename this. My settings. Name this notebook as transform data for silver. So now you have saved this notebook in silver. The next stage is you will create a data frame to load the data from. First, you will create a schema as usual, and then you will load the data that is in the bronze layer in a data frame. So for that, first thing is you need to connect to a Spark session. So here I'll selecting the standard Spark session. Okay. The Spark session has been created. Now we are good to go with the code. So first thing is I'll be importing the spark.sql types from PySpark. I'll be importing all the SQL types. And second thing is I'll be creating a schema for the table. So the name of the schema will be order schema and this is the syntax of creating a schema. So as we know, the file contains the sales order number, the sales order line number, order date, customer name, email, item, quantity, unit price, and tax. So I have given the each data type for each of the columns, just to summarize in terms of data types. So sales order number is a string type, whereas line number, sales order line number is an integer type, and order date is a date type, and customer name is of string type, and email is again of string type, item is also of string type, quantity is again integer type, and here you can see the unit price is the float type, and tax is also the float type. So now the schema is ready. So you need to import the files from your bronze folder of your lakehouse, right? So in order to import, you will have to first give a variable to your data frame. I have given it as df, and I'll read the format that is in form of CSV. And as we all know, the it has already a header, so I have given the option header as true. And then I have already created a schema so that the data types doesn't change. So I've given the schema option also enabled over here with the name order schema. So the schema sits with this file and it has to load from this location. So how will you get this path? So first thing is go to sales and click on this three dots and properties. Here you will be getting the relative path. Click on the relative path and come back to the notebook and paste it over here. So we have three files of the same columns. So I want to load all the three files at once. So I'll be following star.csv so that all the CSV files will get loaded into the same data frame. And then this will display the first 10 rows of the data frame once this run is successful. So let us run this. So the jobs are complete. Yeah. So you can see the file has been loaded with the first 10 rows. So always the last file will be shown as the first 10 rows. So 2019 file is down, then comes 2020, then comes 2021. So the top 10 rows will be 2021. Okay. So this is how we have loaded into the data frame, and you have the schema ready and it has been loaded into the data frame. So next step will be, now I will see where all the customer name is null and flag the rows. So I'll add some flag columns, and if customer name, I'll update the customer name to unknown if the customer name column is null in any of the rows, or if it is empty to unknown. So let me just explain you with the code. So from now, I'll be importing the SQL functions from PySpark. That is when lit lit and column, then timestamp and the input file name. So I'll add a column with the name haze flagged and create TS and the modified TS. So this creates the three columns for the current data frame where the input file name will be stored with the file name, and it will flag the column wherever the order date is less than this date, earlier than this date has true, or else if the order date is greater than this date, it will be termed as false. Then there will be another column created TS for the current timestamp. So it will also take a column for where it will store the current timestamp as modified timestamp. Then update the column customer name wherever the customer name is empty or null to unknown. So I'm telling when column customer name is null or the customer name is equal to an empty string, then I'll add a literal called unknown. This is a string that has been imported from SQL function. So it is called as a literal lit unknown, which means it will update the row with the unknown if it is null or empty. It's like a if condition. When it is null or it is an empty string, it has to take unknown. Otherwise, it will take the customer name, whatever the customer name it has in the row. So let us run this cell. So it has been successful. Now I will define one schema for sales silver table. So in the sales database using the delta leg format. So now I'll add a code to that. Here in this cell, first I'll be importing the SQL types and the delta types. SQL types anyways we have imported earlier. It doesn't matter even if we import it again. And we will the delta tables delta API to create the delta tables. So this is the delta table API where delta table dot create if not exist Spark, and it will create a table. So delta table can be created in various ways. One of the way is the creating using API, which we'll be seeing it now over here. So delta table dot create if not exist in Spark. If it doesn't exist in Spark, it will create with a table name sales dot sales silver, and it will add a column sales number with the string type, sales order line with integer type, order date with the date type, customer name with the string type, email with the string type, item with string type, quantity with integer type, unit price with float type, and tax with float type, and file name in the string type. He is flagged with the boolean type, and created timestamp as a date type and modified ts as a date type, and it has to execute. So this is a API to create a delta table. So let us run this. So let me first drop if there is any. Use this command to create a schema if not exists. So you can see now the table has been created under the schema called sales. There is a table created with this column names. So basically, we are creating a table in order to store the data whichever we have done the operations on the data frame. So now we will merge the data with this data frame and upload the data to this delta table. So for this, next step is we will write a code for uploading the data to this delta table from the data frame. Okay. So first thing is we'll update the existing rows and insert the new based on the condition, that is the sales order number, line number, and order date and the customer name. So now here we need to take the path of this sales silver and paste it over here. So make sure that you take the ABFS path over here for the delta table. So once you take the path of the table, so we are telling that whatever the data we update from now, it should go and sit in this table. We will create new variable called df updates, which has to update from this data frame. So whatever the updates we have did it, from there it has to update. And then we will create a delta table with aliasing as silver and merge with the latest data matching this condition. So where all this condition has to match, only then the data will go and sit inside each of these columns. So whenever it is a match, then it will update the particular columns, the proper data. When it does not match, update with the new things. For example, we have updated the data frame. The customer name had an empty string to unknown. So that those columns, when it is not matched with the original table, it follows the match over here. Like it updates, push the data into this delta table, and finally executes the whole code. Let me run this. So I think it has been done. All the jobs are run. In order to summarize what has happened over here, this operation will enable you to update the existing records that is in the table based on specific columns. That is like the order number, line number, and order date, all these things. And it will insert new records when no match is found. If the match is found, the same data will be pushed inside the new table, that is sales silver delta table. So this is the common requirement whenever you're loading the data from the source system. It may contain some updates to your existing table. So that is why this code has been written. So now we have the data in our sales silver delta table. So the data is stored in the silver layer. So now the next step will be we will explore the data in the silver layer. So before that, is there any questions till this point?
No doubts.
Okay, so you're clear how the data has been loaded into the silver layer by creating the delta table and loading it into the delta table. Okay, now the work in this notebook is done. So I'll stop the session for this. So once remember, whenever the work in the notebook is over, you need to stop the session. Okay, so remember to turn off the session once the work in the notebook is done and save the notebook. Just if you click on this, save, it will be saved.
How to
So,
turn off?
so here, if I start a session, you will be
Yeah.
able to see a red dot over here, right? So
Yeah.
now the session is starting. Once the session has been started, now suppose you think I have ran all the cells. So there is no more work in this notebook. Now I'm going to close that. Before you close that, stop this
Okay.
session using this stop session button. This will
Mm-hmm.
stop the Spark session. So on the other day, the notebook in the pipeline did not run because the session was on in the notebook when it was created. So you need to
Mhm.
stop the session and then run the pipeline.
We need to stop the session and run the pipeline.
Yes. In the
Okay.
previous hands-on, you would have wondered why the pipelines were failing, right?
Yeah.
That was
Okay.
only because of this issue. I have elaborated the same thing in the
Yeah.
recording as well. So from that time, it's good to turn off the session once the work is done on the note. Uh,
Notebook. Okay.
so now coming back to the sales workspace. So now I can see here the SQL endpoint in my workspace. So this is the lakehouse and this is the SQL analytics endpoint. So now I want to explore the data. I'll be doing it using the SQL endpoint. So click on this sales, which has the type called SQL Analytics Endpoint. So if you remember well, in the Lakehouse, you can query the data in two ways. That is using the Lakehouse mode, and it is the SQL query mode. So I'm now into the SQL query mode to query the data whichever I have loaded into the silver layer. So now check for the schemas over here. So there is a schema called sales, and it has must have the table sales silver. You can see it over here as sales silver. So now I'll be querying this data which is in this table. So in order to do that, I need a new query, new SQL query. So I'll just click on this. So a new SQL query canvas has been opened. So first thing is, so first here, I'll be selecting the year based on the order date, which will only fetch the year using the year function. Then I'll cast the same thing by using the sum quantity into the unit price plus tax, and I need it in the decimal format as total sales. So I'm trying to get the total sales from the sales silver table, and I'll be grouping by year and ordering it over by year or the order date. So I'll be getting the total sales. Yeah, schema name is also sales and it is under the sales and the table name is sales silver. So the name of the lakehouse is sales. Schema name is also sales, which we have already created in the note, and the table name is also sales silver. So now we are getting the total sales by using this operation. It will multiply the quantity into the unit price and add the tax and sum up all the things, and we have grouped by year. So according to the year, what is the total sales, it will display all the things over here in this way. So 2019 it had this much of sales, 2020 it had, 2021 it had this much of sales. Now this data you can even get the results in form of an Excel sheet. So let us move forward. So this is how you can analyze and explore the data in the silver layer. So next thing is I'll just select some top 10 customer name and sum it over the. So basically, the query returns the top 10 customers with their total quantity of purchase by each customer in the silver table. So basically, the Samantha Jenkins has purchased a total 41 units, some quantity of some items, and similarly, Henry has also purchased around 39 quantity of some items. So it is about the top 10 customers who has purchased the lot number of items from the particular store. So now next is, so this is how you can analyze the data using the SQL Analytics endpoint. So in order to summarize the things, what all has been happened till this layer, first thing is we have loaded the data, raw data into the bronze layer. So from the bronze layer, we have opening or creating a notebook. So in that notebook, we'll be creating a schema to load the data from the bronze layer to a data frame. So once the data has been loaded, then we did minute operations like we removed all the null values and inserted the null values of the customer names, the unknown, and also we added three more columns. Those three columns were a flag column, and we also created timestamp column, whether original table has updated or not. By this two things we could analyze it. And after that, the schema for the silver layer created a delta table, basically using delta table APIs. And after creating delta table, we updated the table or populated the table with the data that we have transformed using the bronze layer. So once the data was populated to this sales silver layer table, then we came back to our lakehouse and switched it to the analytics endpoint, or we just opened our lakehouse with the SQL analytics endpoint mode, and we just explored the data that is in the sales silver table. So this is all we have done today.
That's all for now. Like and subscribe and turn on notifications for future videos. Thank you.